I kind of feel that way about both of you guys. Like, I feel like in terms of like building a podcast, and I don't know what the fucking fans are going to think. I can't see the chat right now and everything, but I do feel like Lush excels in like an extreme amount of hip hop knowledge. Brick Baby excels in a way similar, but like more of a street perspective. And I feel like I said this last week or whatever, and I'm really slowly going to have to fucking take the under the chin
right there.
Bro, I'm going to look fat as fuck. But I feel like a good No Jumper show needs that. The best era, in a lot of people's opinions, was the AD and House Phone era. Before that sort of started to fall apart. And when you think about it, it's like you kind of had AD as the street perspective to some extent, and then you had House Phone, which is more like the hipster fun. Whatever. I feel like, if anything, I feel a lot more confident that we can cover the ground that I really want to cover in terms of actually talking about rap music and the culture with us three than any lineup that I have previously had in place. And that's no shots at anybody else. And I realize that we are in a time right now where it feels imperative that we be able to have conversations about what's going on in hip hop, because mainstream hip hop is all of a sudden like way more interesting.
It's exciting
than it's been in a long fucking time. And it's easy to forget that this did not exist a month ago or 2 months ago or whatever. And like all of a sudden shit, a lot of shit has changed. People forget Academics was like bad PR after bad PR for like months.
A lot of people.
Not to take anything away from the fact that obviously he controls a huge fucking audience and that his shit was still going or whatever, but it was like bad PR. And then all of a sudden this shit comes up and it's like his perspective is so needed and him like guiding the narrative is so needed that all of a sudden it's like all that shit has been swept away and Ak is like seeing his star. I bet if we were to go to Social Blade or whatever, even on Twitter or YouTube, whatever, I bet that his shit is glowing the fuck up right now.
So you think the big three brought hip hop back?
Are we ready to do the big three conversation? Because I don't think we're ready. I think we got to do a little bit more work before we get to that.
No, we can do more work.
I'm gonna tease it.
Oh, you got an exclusive.
I tapped in with Champagne Poppy. Holy fuck, I'm gonna be on all these meme pages with my chin out. I tapped in with Champagne Poppy and I got his top 3 in the hip hop media. Now we got a few other things we got to talk about before I'm going to get to that, but I'm teasing that. I have the opinion of the sixth god.
You told him that you seen his swipe before everybody else?
The man, I did. That's a good point. I did see his dick way before everybody else. I should have sent it to him right as soon as I got it. I have the exclusive on that, and I will be releasing that by the end of this podcast. But I do feel like that there's some other groundwork that we need to kind of cover before we get to that. So let's start off with the fact that, and before we even get to that, I do want to send love and respect to my man DW Flame.
Shouts to Flame.
This is not an end of the relationship with DW Flame by any means. I do believe that he is coming out to New York. I spoke to him earlier today when I called him and told him like, hey bro, I think we're going to go a little bit different direction on Tuesday. I'm pretty good at judging people's reaction, their emotional state, whatever. This was a man who was not tripping. He was cool.
Because he posted No Jumper promoting content the next day or that same day.
Right, and then we had to have a talk about that because the party promoter put the No Jumper logo like 3/4 of the flyer. Anyway, we'll get to that. But DW, him being on the Tuesday show was like, let's see what's going on. Let's see how this works. We put in some time. I do think DW definitely has a future on this channel. Shout out to P Nice as well. I feel like the Thursday thing is going to keep working. Him on the news is going to keep working. We're probably going to keep doing interviews and shit like that all together. But in terms of the Tuesday show, y'all know that I've always been looking at this like, you know, trying to figure out what is the perfect combination of people. And at a certain point, I do feel like in some ways, having Brick and DW on the podcast turned every single episode into like a Crips Unlimited meeting.
Banged out.
It was a lot of
banged out.
Crip dissection.
Yeah.
Let's be real. Because when it comes down, you have two dudes who are from very different places, but you're both Crips, and we end up talking about shit. It ends up being like a conversation about the intricacies of Cripping to the point where I felt like the fans maybe felt a little bit alienated because that's not necessarily what they 100% want.
The intracripsies.
Yeah, they went to go copping them blue rags and hockey sticks out there, man. Listen to us every week.
Right.
Yeah.
Listen, sitting me down with somebody from the other side caused me to lose it. I thought I was gonna be able to handle the backlash of us being together. I never thought that And I don't give a fuck. I sit next to it. It's not my decision that you're not here on a Tuesday or whatever.
Yeah,
case
I'm not saying that was me, and I had that conversation with him.
Like he said, we don't make no decisions. Either we cool with it or. You know what I'm
I gave you a call right before I talked to DW, or actually I think right after, and then I gave you a call like right after as well. So it's like, this was my decision in terms of like what was going on here. So this is not like a Brick Baby hating on DW narrative.
Imagine if Brick Baby had gone. Imagine if Brick had just gone on Discord and told everybody, and it got in like 3
we
minutes.
learn from mistakes around this motherfucker.
Because I hate talking on the phone, so I'm sitting there like making my FaceTime calls, like really like geeked out, just like, oh man, I'm ready, I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna call him.
He's off 6 drugs at one time.
I was off caffeine and marijuana just like every day.
I've been drinking caffeine.
Nah, but at the end of the day, as we entered NAP gate, I figured like, tough skin, that shit ain't nothing. That shit ain't nothing. And the homies got to, man.
And then off-brand gate.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That turned into off-brand gate.
Right.
Me talking to a homeboy that with a private phone call, it turns into off-brand gate. Then it turns into, niggas got me fucked up. They must don't know who.
Kill Squad gate.
Yeah. Kill Squad gate. And it was like, I don't think the fans, they were heavily invested in the beef, but I don't think that we covered hip hop. I think, you know what I'm saying? We never covered most of the topics. I feel like you were frustrated with that. It was a lot of, what do you call it when you start a topic?
Tangents.
Tangents.
Tangents. It was a lot of tangents. I'm bad at it. He's very bad at it. I'm bad at it. But DW, he don't know that he in the podcast he used to get an interview, the shit that I had. So he'll be like, and go left.
And sometimes I do look at somebody like DW and I'm like, maybe you should have gave him a little bit more coaching in the beginning, because like we try out so many people on this podcast that like very rarely do I like sit down with them and say like, this is what we're doing. I need you to be like this. I need you to, don't do too much of this. Don't do too much of this. It's more like coaching on the fly, because I don't really know what the fuck people are going to be like on camera until we actually get in that environment. Right. But then sometimes it's like, you sit down with somebody for 2-3 hours and you do a podcast and you've got like in your head, you've got 3-4 things that you're like, okay, they really need to work on this. But you just had a 3-hour conversation. I want to go home. I want to smoke weed and go to bed. I don't want to fucking sit there and have another 45-minute conversation. Yeah, especially when you might not 100% be receptive to it in the case of a lot of people. Right?
I didn't know what podding was when I came. I sent you a text like, hey, anytime you see me fucking up, don't hesitate to tell me, because, man.
And that is the best thing that I will always say about Brick Baby, is that he came into this environment accepting that he had a lot to learn and had a lot to grow with, which in comparison, I know you're cool with AD, whatever, but AD is someone that like I put on the podcast, didn't give him really any coaching. Along the way, I'm start telling him stuff, but he already like kind of had it in his head that like, oh, I'm lit, like I'm dope. The people seem like they're fucking with me. So when I'm telling him like, yo, the interrupting and the tangents and the main character syndrome or whatever, he's like super resistant to that. And in a way, it's kind of like, fuck, well, if I had brought him onto the podcast and kind of told him like, listen, we're gonna do a podcast every week, and then we're gonna have a conversation afterwards about how it went and things we need to work on. Like if I kind of started out with it as a precedent of, okay, we are going to be working on your performance. Like nobody can imagine joining a fucking sporting team.
Yeah, reviewing game tape.
Yeah. Nobody can imagine doing that and just thinking like, oh, I'm already dope as fuck. Nobody can tell me shit.
And I think my sports background kind of got me, because that's what you do. You gotta study the people. Yeah. Like even if you know your plays, it's like you finna play them next week. What they doing?
And the statements, the criticisms that I had during those time periods, if you want to go back and watch the tape from podcast episodes that we did in 2020 and 21, the criticisms that I had are 1,000% supported by like their Reddit now. Like their fans are the ones saying those things now about all of them. Like literally all of them. And I don't like to like throw it to the fans and be like, look at the fans, right? Especially because like their Reddit is heavily like everybody's banned and blocked from that shit. So like the fact that that's still the overwhelming narrative, even though like a huge percentage of
comments.
Yeah. So like I mean, on our Reddit, there are certain things that you can't really say, but for the most part, you're pretty much allowed to say whatever. Like they're crazy. Go look at it right now. There's tons of negative threads about me. Unless you like go into the area of like too personal of attacks on people. And that's one thing that pisses me off is they always try to act like I was shaping the Reddit to like control narratives and shit. You know how many fucking times I loaded up the Reddit in the morning and had to go through and delete 3-4 posts about people's kids and people's moms and all this type of shit. Like, I was going hard to protect them, and they are so married to the victim mentality, but I don't want to get into all that.
Well, the thing is, like, with all of us, you're kind of seeing us learn be in front of the entire world. We're doing this on the fly. Like, you had no experience.
Yeah, you don't get to make mistakes on live. Sometimes now I be like,
you were honestly.
I keep it. I can say everything right here.
Your crash out. Like, I empathize with you so much at that moment. I was like, that reminded me of me and not understanding the nature of this game and the way content works. And like, I'm like, man, why are the people that are supposed to be supporting me exploiting me? What's going on? Like, like I felt like it's literally like echoing the exact sentiments I had during Fadegate with Flacco and I. You know what I'm saying?
Fadegate was great. Do you know what he's talking about?
Yeah, when he wanted to fade.
Yeah. Fadegate ruined my life, to be honest with you. Like,
why you say that?
It just put like it had been so much positive momentum leading, like, in that whole way that I ended my 2022 and No Jumper, and I was like, okay. Like,
and drugs control our emotions too, though. Don't leave the drugs out.
Drugs and lack thereof drugs. Being sometimes
that's what
sober.
I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's what you call a crash out.
Yeah. So at that moment, like, everything kind of switched in the narrative, and people started kind of like delving into the inconsistencies of my character, and it was kind of more put on blast.
And this is part of the reason why I really need to finish my class that I've like put some time into writing and stuff, is because there are so many potential or like inevitable character arcs that I need to prepare people for. Like, for instance, you will start to see people supporting you. You'll start to see people being extremely positive about you, and then you will reach a tipping point in which they realize that they're kind of done praising you and building you up, and that's the moment where the fan base is going to decide that they want to tear you down. And realistically, now people are so used to this happening that they're going to be working on that from the beginning. No matter you could have a good week or two, and people are already going to start trying to put together the narratives in terms of why you suck and why you're not going to make it, etc. So I really should be like warning people in advance.
But to be fair, you did, Phone did, AD did. They're all was telling me like, yo, like, they're going to be on your dick one day and they're going to hate you the next day. You can't internalize the criticism or the praise. Like, you just got to keep doing.
Go ahead.
No, you just got to keep doing you. And you did say that to me on multiple occasions.